Chapter 1. It's supposed to be another normal day for me, yet this day makes a great difference to my life. I wake up in the morning and begin to do my daily routine as usual. Yeah, it's a kind of OCD, but without it, I could only suppose my day would be doomed. Crawling out of bed, I head towards my tiny shower room. It's lucky for me that I don't have to share. But don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I hate having someone sharing a room with me. I just do not want them to see what I'm about to do next. I promise, you would think that I am crazy. I stand in front of the mirror, ignoring the rat's nest of bed hair on top of my head, and begin my affirmations. It's something I learned from a self-help seminar last year. I do it because its course overview says it would help me visualize and realize my goals. And that's something I need after being in college for 3 years without making a single friend. That's right, not a single one. Looking in the mirror, I stare at the hot mess at my reflection and say, I am Charlotte Field. I am a successful college student, and today I am going to be bright, confident, caring, and assertive where necessary. In the future, I'm going to have my own business, a husband, 3 children, and a pug, or maybe 2 pugs. But either way, I'm going to be happy. Yes, this is what I call my morning routine. Because as my alarm goes off at 6 o'clock and I have to drag my body out of bed, I forget why I am doing all of this. And this time of year is the worst because of the cold weather and dark nights. I can't help but wish I was back down on the Florida coast with my dad and my friends. Up here, I have nothing but my reflection to talk to, which I know is pathetic and absolutely insane. And sometimes I do feel like one of those budgie birds that has to look at its reflection to relieve the crippling sense of loneliness of being trapped in a cage all by itself. And college indeed felt like a cage to me. This is why I say the mantra. This is why I have to remind myself the reason that I sacrificed so much to travel up north and go to college. There has to be a happy ending for me at the end of this. After the mantra, I tame my hair and throw on some clothes. Time to get to the library and prepare for my seminars. This is the life for me. I do the work, go home, eat, sleep, and then repeat on the second day. There are no parties, no fun, and on top of it, no boys. Relationships come later, just like the pugs. Right now, I'm in my final year, and my priority is focusing all my energy on getting the best degree possible. I head straight to the library. My first seminar is at 11. And the tutor that is taking my class has a well-deserved reputation for being a ball-buster when it comes to scrutinizing students about the set readings. I'd had a couple of classes with her before, and I had seen her literally squeeze answers out of students who knew nothing. Believe me, it was painful watch. Her students usually quickly learned that the only way to survive her seminars was to either learn the readings inside out or not to bother showing up in her seminars. I walked to the social science library, where I like to do my early morning studies. It was in the middle of the campus and literally looked like the place where things went to die. It was a great big gloomy concrete cube that stuck out of the beautiful green landscaped campus grounds like a giant sore thumb. I once heard a rumor it was considered an architectural wonder 40 years ago, but now it looked like a dilapidated mess. The inside to the library was not much better. Gray walls, gray carpet, and even gray plastic tables added to the dreariness of place. It wasn't the most stimulating place to go and study, but it's all I had. Walking into the library, I passed the same librarian who I saw every morning since starting college. You think she would at least spare me a smile after walking past her every day for the last 3 years. But she does what she always does, and ignores me. I head over to my favorite study desk and find someone out the corner of my eye, Olivia McAdam. Olivia is one of these girls who never grew up after leaving high school. She saw the world as a popularity contest and believed it was her divine purpose to stalk the campus grounds and point out every student fashion faux pas to her chosen disciples. I avoided her like the bubonic plague, but like the bubonic plague, she was hard to avoid. Hurrying past her, I kept my eyes glued to the floor, but she noticed me. "Hey Field, come here," she yelled. She loved calling people by their surname. I think calling us by our first names might run the risk of humanizing us. So she stuck to surnames or labels like goth or nerd. In her social strata, I was non-existent. Well, at least until she needed something. "Hi, Olivia," I flashed back, trying to make my voice sound more enthusiastic. She flicked her pale blonde hair over her shoulder and cut straight to the point. "I need to borrow your notes. I haven't done this stupid reading and I'm too hungover to even attempt it." "I haven't written any notes up yet," I lied. I actually came up here now to write them. In my head, this was a soundproof plan, but Olivia had other ideas. Flashing a smile, she suddenly looped her arm around mine and announced, "Oh, that is great. Then we can do it together." He can be like, right, study buddies. Oh God, no. I tried to pull away, but like a boa constrictor, she sensed my panic and gripped my arm tighter. "This is going to be so much fun," she chirped with fake sincerity and started to pull me toward her table like a predator dragging its prey back to its lair. I relented and followed her. It was easy to tell where she was sitting because she never studied alone. Wherever she went, her 10 closest followers went. These followers changed from week to week, but they were all pretty easy to spot with their caked-on makeup, long manicured nails, fake extensions, and designer clothes. I called them the living Barbie dolls. When we approached their table, they stared at me coldly. Olivia was quick to explain my presence. "This is Hazel, and she is going to help me with my seminar work." The Barbies approved of this explanation and welcomed me to their table with fake smiles. Nervously, I took a seat among them. It was like being a foreigner entering a hostile country on a day pass. One of them attempted to make conversation. "So Hazel, have you got any Halloween plans for tonight?" God, it was Halloween. I've almost forgotten it. Christmas seemed to sneak up on me every year. "No, I don't have any exciting plans, but I might watch a scary movie or something." I trailed off. Wow, hearing myself say that aloud made me feel like an absolute loser. I sank down in my chair and tried to focus on the reading in front of me. Hopefully they'd forget why I was here and continue talking amongst themselves. "So, do you have a boyfriend, Hazel?" another one asked. Olivia suddenly burst out laughing. "Oh geez, no. I've never seen Field with a boy." Now, this is not just bad, this is worse. I could feel my cheeks now turning bright red as I began to silently pray for the horrible gray carpet to open up and swallow me whole. "Air? No, I do not have a boyfriend at the moment," I replied. The Barbie smiled sadly at me and said, "That is such a shame. You know, with a bit of makeup and hair product, I bet you'd look really nice." Was she complimenting me? Before I had the chance to reply, Olivia once again waded into conversation with the tact as a bull in a china shop. "That's the one thing I could never understand you, Field. You've always preferred the weight of a book than a man on top of you." "Okay," I said, pulling a photocopy of Durkheim's suicide study out my bag. "We should really focus on the seminar reading instead of what's so-called love life." Olivia pulled the study out of my hand and said, "No, we should focus on fixing your non-existent love life. I think that you need to be corrupted, Charlotte Field." "I really do not want to be corrupted," I said quietly. "I think you do, and I know just how. Tonight we are going to a frat house, Halloween party, and you are coming with us," she said. "No, so I wanted to lie and tell her I had other plans, but for some stupid reason, I did not. Instead, I agreed to go to the party with her and her friends. Looking back now, I realized that if I had said no, then I might have lived. But that was not my fate. My fate that night was death. On the night of my death, I arrived at her dorm in a boring plain blue dress. When she opened the door, she was wearing a sexy devil outfit. Her first question was, "Where the hell is your outfit, Field?" "I don't have an outfit," I replied. "It's Halloween, Field. You need an outfit." She snapped. "I guess we'll have to improvise." She pulled me into her dorm room and began rummaging through her wardrobe. "I've a couple of stretchy dresses that might fit you." The inside of her wardrobe was practically bulging out with designer dresses, jackets, and handbags. Impatiently, she flicked through her rail of clothing before eventually stopping at long white maxi dress. "Here," she said, pulling out a white maxi. "Put this on and we'll combine it with a wedding veil and a pair of lace gloves to make you into one sexy bride." "Wait, do you have a wedding veil?" I asked. "Yeah, I've one left over from last year. It was from an 80s party year. I went as Madonna," she added. I took the dress from her and went to the bathroom. 2 minutes later, I wandered out, dressed up like a bride. The wedding veil sat uncomfortably on my head, while the designer maxi dress left nothing to the imagination. It clung to every curve, making me feel exposed and vulnerable. Olivia eyed me up and down with approval. "Whoa, you look hot, Field. In fact, you look really hot. Those poor frat boys won't know what's hit them." I wasn't too sure, but once again, I felt compelled not to argue. We left her dorm and headed to the fraternity house party. Along the way, we ran into her friends who were all amazed by my makeover. One of the girls had actually screamed in delight when she saw me. She had run up to us and gushed, "OMG, Olivia! I can't believe you got her into that dress. Leah is going to freak." "Shut up, Carrie." Olivia had snapped, becoming weird and defensive. "Wait, who is Leah?" I asked suspiciously. Olivia shrugged. "No one. I promise you, that's just someone who was made up by her." I wanted to ask more questions, but she grabbed my arm and began talking about our evil seminar tutor. I could sense she was trying to change topic, but I didn't understand why. There was a tiny voice in the back of my head screaming at me, trying to warn me that something was terribly wrong, but I didn't listen. Instead, I let her take me to the fraternity house. When we got to the party, it was pretty much what I expected. That was a lot of toilet paper, shaving foam, and underage drinking. Heavy dance music blared out of the house, and I could see people dancing inside. There were a few people I recognized from the football team, but everyone else was a stranger. We walked as a group into the fraternity house where we were greeted by one of fraternity's initiates. He broke out into a wide smile when he saw me and said to Olivia, "Leah has everything ready." Leah again. "Look, Field, whatever happens, I want you to know that it was never personal," she said. "What?" I replied back, confused. Suddenly, I felt hands on me, dragging me backwards out of the house. Several frat boys had ambushed me from behind and were now pulling me out of the fraternity house onto the lawn. Outside on the lawn, a large group of students had began to gather, holding their red cups of alcohol. "Behold," a voice boomed, "our virgin offering to the Dark Prince." "What?" I cried. Students were clapping and cheering, including Olivia McAdam and her friends. I couldn't believe it. It was actually a trap for me. I knew this fraternity ritual. It was a dumb urban legend that the frat boys carried out every year to appease the make-believe Prince of Darknesses. Each year, one of the boys would dupe some nerdy girl into dressing up as a bride and standing under the hangman's tree in the town graveyard. Nothing ever happened to the girl. She would usually stand under the tree until midnight, then walk home. I guess the nerds had wised up, so the frat boys had sent Olivia McAdam as a kind of Trojan horse to trick some poor girl into being the next bride. And that poor someone was me. "Tonight we will offer Hazel Field as a virgin bride," explained the frat boy. "Wait, hold on," I yelled. Everyone fell silent. "Look, this is a stupid urban legend. And if getting out of here means standing under that stupid tree at midnight, then fine, I'll do it. But I demand you to let me go right now, or I swear to God, if you drag me to the graveyard against my will, then I will scream every step of the way," I said. The frat boys thought about what I had said for a few moments before one of them, who I assume was Leah, said, "All right, Hazel Field, we accept your conditions, but only if you allow 2 of our fraternity members to escort you to the graveyard. Then guard the cemetery gates to ensure you do not run. Once the church bells have chimed midnight, you are free to go so long as the Dark Prince does not want you for himself." "Fine," I said, and with that, I left for the cemetery to die. Chapter 2. The cemetery was deathly quiet. I began to regret ever agreeing to this stupid dare. Standing alone in the freezing cold, I once hoped a couple of kids might be hanging out amongst the tombstones for Halloween kicks. But ever since entering the cemetery, I hadn't seen anyone hanging around. It's now nearly midnight, and I'm standing underneath the branches of the legendary hangman's tree waiting for a hero to jump out and grab me. I'd probably be freaking out right now if I was not being distracted by the cold. My outfit was not designed to protect me against the cold October night air. Trying to keep my mind off the fact I was standing alone in a creepy graveyard, I focused on trying to pull Olivia's lace gloves that extra millimeter up my freezing cold arms. Violently, I shivered. It shouldn't be long now. I glanced down at my cell phone for God knows how many times and noted the time, 11:05 p.m. I also noticed the fact that my signal bars were registering 0. My gut churned with uneasiness. "Come on, Hazel," I whispered to myself. "Only 5 minutes to go and then you can go home." I hated to admit, but this place was really starting to get to me. Nervously, I scanned the rows of tombstones. I had this weird expectation that a ghost would suddenly pop out and scare the living crap out of me. It had already happened earlier this evening, except it hadn't been a ghost but a very large owl. It had swooped down low over my head and landed the branch of a nearby tree. Of course, I had screamed and felt incredibly stupid when I realized it was nothing but an owl, but for a split second I'd actually thought it might be him, the infamous Prince of Darkness. I glanced impatiently at my phone again. I'd give the Prince of Darkness another 2 minutes to come and claim me. Then, I was out of here. Staring at my phone, I watched the digital seconds tick by and quietly urged, "Come on, midnight." The minute changed and my clock read 11:59 p.m. Okay, 1 minute to midnight is good enough for me, I said. I took a couple of paces towards the cemetery gates, and then stopped as a loud, heavy chime cut through the deathly silence. The church bells were tolling. The witching hour had arrived. I glanced once again around the graveyard to see if any ghosts, witches, or demons had suddenly decided to join me, but there was no one. It was just me. The church bells continued to sound, counting out the number of hours. When the final bell chimed, I was halfway across the graveyard, running towards the exit. Only now did it dawn on me how stupid it was for me, a young woman, to be out here, alone in this isolated place. Taking my cell phone, I started speaking into it loudly. "Hey Mom, I'm coming to meet you at the gate. I can almost see you." There was no one at the end of the phone, but I thought if there was anybody here, then they'd seen me talking to someone on the phone and leave me alone. The gates appeared in front of me and sweet relief swept over me. Not much further to go and I'd be free. I picked up my pace. I was eager to get back home and put this awful night behind me. As I neared the path that led straight to the gate, wispy tendrils of white mist started to creep through the railings. At first, the mist was semi-transparent to the point I could still see the gates and the light of the street lamps through it. But as I took another step forward, the nature of the mist changed. It grew thicker and denser, and now poured out between the railings, enveloping the gate and path in solid white. "Oh shit," I muttered as the mist swallowed me. I could now barely see past my nose. Great, I had no choice but to fumble my way out of this place. I started shuffling in the direction of the cemetery gates. Everything was going well until my toe connected with the stone base of a tombstone. I inhaled sharply as intense pain shot through my foot. "Fudge, fudge, 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 fudge. Mother trucking fudge cakes," I gasped. Spinning around on one foot, I reached for the nearest headstone and rested against it. God, I hope my toe wasn't broken. A broken foot would be the proverbial cherry on top of this fudge cake. Rubbing my toe, I lifted my head up. My stomach dropped. There was a dark silhouette coming towards me. Its solidness gradually bled through the fog. The temperature around me sharply fell, and all the hairs on the back of neck started to stand on end. The shadowy figure was drawing nearer. Please God, I hope this is some drunk taking a shortcut home. I strained my eyes, trying to see through the white. "Madam, are you okay?" A calm, polite voice of an elderly man emerged from the fog. I couldn't see him clearly, but I guessed that he was either the minister of the church or the groundkeeper. "Hello, sir. I'm sorry to trouble you, but I can't find my way out of this place." "Ah," the man said, drawing closer. "These night fogs can be quite disorientating. Here, take my arm and I'll lead the way." "Thank you," I said, taking his arm and quickly adding, "My friend is waiting for me at the gate." I couldn't rule out the possibility that this guy was a creeper too. We started moving through the fog and I couldn't help noticing how cold and damp the man's arm was. His jacket sleeve felt like he had been standing out in the rain for a couple of hours. "Are you caretaker of this place?" I asked. "In a way, yes. I have been watching over this place for the past 300 years. 300 years, huh? Yes, although I spend most of my time sleeping in the ground." "Sleeping in the ground, well, I think that I can find my way out from here," I smiled. "Oh no, my dear. The ceremony is about to start and you are the guest of honor." I let go of his arm and started to back away from the crazy man. "Sorry, but I've got other plans. Maybe we could do this some other time." "No," he cried, grabbing hold of my wrist. "You must come with me." "I'm sorry, I can't," I replied. "It's too late to go back now." "Okay, you're now scaring me, so I'm gonna go." "You can't," he sighed. "The curse is upon you, my dear. There is no escaping it now." For the first time, I looked down at his fingers, which were wrapped tightly around my wrist. "Hey, what's wrong with your arm?" "The skin, it's gray. It's dead." I thought he was joking, but as I looked at his skin, I saw something underneath it move. I let out a gasp and staggered backwards. "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with your skin?" There was a break in the mist, and for first time I saw what was wrong with him. He was a corpse. I stared at him in a surreal state of shock, as it suddenly dawned on me that the urban legend was true. I shook my head. I made a mistake. I had no idea I thought it was. A legend? A fairy tale? He queried. Yes, I said, desperately hoping he would understand my predicament and let me go. Sorry, my child. By standing there in that dress waiting for our lordship, you have already acted out your vows. He replied sullenly. Are you the price of darkness? No, I am the Bishop Ian. I shall be ordaining your wedding tonight. What do you mean? Chupe, madame, your husband awaits, he said, taking my arm and tugging me up the aisle. Chapter 3. The bishop dragged me down the aisle, kicking and screaming. Literally. I kept thinking to myself that if I was going to die, I was going to make sure that I went down with the flag flying. There was no way I was going to give up and submissively resign myself to death. I would fight this corpse and his lordship until my very last breath. So in the bishop's decomposing grasp, I twisted and twirled, fighting every step. But the zombie bishop wrestled me up to the altar. A disapproving wave of hushed whispers rippled through the congregation as the bishop finally pulled me under the arch of dead roses that stood at the end of the aisle. I can't get married, I yelled at him and the crowd. The bishop yanked hard on my wrist and snapped, Stop whining, child. Your future husband will be here any moment and he will not want to see his bride acting up. I glanced nervously back down the aisle and saw nothing. The crowd too would occasionally turn their heads, hoping for a glimpse of the groom. I wonder what rancid creature the groom would be like. What if the bishop here turned out to be the Prince of Darkness's good-looking brother? What if the Prince of Darkness was a corpse? Waves of nausea rose up and began pounding against my stomach. My head began to fire a million worst-case scenarios into my mind's eye, which made me feel sicker and sicker. The bishop suddenly snapped his fingers and yelled to some unknown entity, Tell His Highness to make haste before his bride passes out. My legs buckled underneath me, and the bishop grabbed onto me and roughly pulled me up onto my feet. Angrily, he hissed in my ear, For God's sake, child, have courage. I can't get married. Please let me go, I begged the bishop. The bishop gazed pitifully at me and whispered, Be brave, my child. Terror was slowly paralyzing my body, freezing my muscles as my situation became more desperately hopeless. The zombie bishop continued to support me as my knee tried to cave in. The bishop, sensing my distress, called out, Will someone tell His Majesty to hurry up and claim his bride before she passes out? A small pale boy got up and ran down the aisle, disappearing into the mist. A hushed ripple of laughter followed him as they all stared at the spectacle before them. The bishop raised his hand sharply, demanding silence. Settle down now, he said firmly to the crowd. He then gave my shoulder a gentle squeeze. Oh my God, was he trying to offer some kind of moral support or comfort? My head was now spinning. The altar boy came running back up the aisle and Bishop mouthed, Is he coming? To which the boy nodded. Oh, God help me. I closed my eyes again and opened them, hoping to wake myself up from this nightmare. Heads began to peer eagerly over their shoulders, expecting something or someone. Helplessly, I stood rigid, numbed with cold and terror. The decomposing bishop made a small indication to an invisible entity again, and out of nowhere, an organ began to play a haunting melody. The wedding guests all turned sideways, looking down the aisle, watching in anticipation. Their faces lit up into broad smiles as the music really began to kick in. It wasn't quite the bridal march I had been expecting, but it was something grand that you might hear on the TV from a foreign royal court. I would have probably enjoyed it if my life hadn't been on the brink of going down the crapper. Panic started to crash into me now, and my body was momentarily revived with a rush of adrenaline. In one last desperate attempt, I violently tried to break free from the bishop's grasp. Twisting and turning, the bishop struggled to control me. For a fleeting second, I thought I would be able to escape, but then out the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of something that made me stop. Lifting my head up, I watched as the legend walked down the aisle towards me. The wedding guests stood to their feet and bowed their heads in respect as he passed. The Prince of Darkness. Unlike my visions of the Walking Dead, the prince looked like real flesh and blood. He towered well over 6 feet and filled the aisle easily with his broad, muscular frame that was dressed in a beautifully tailored black Armani suit. My breath caught in my throat as I thought to myself, He is gorgeous. The type of gorgeous that could distract a girl in mid-fight with a zombie bishop. The prince walked down the aisle like a fashion model on a runaway in one of the fashion capitals of the world. I watched with a strange kind of curiosity as he lifted his hand casually and tunneled his fingers through his jet black hair, smoothing back a few rogue flecks that had obscured his beautiful amber eyes. Those eyes were hypnotic. He was hypnotic. I was standing at the edge of unknown metaphoric void, and all I could think about was how good he looked in a suit. The prince waved a relaxed hand at the bishop and said, "You may let her go now." The bishop's grip on my wrist loosened, but not entirely. The bishop was unsure if I was going to run or not. But the prince smiled coolly at the bishop and said, "Don't worry, I have her. She won't run." I blinked. What did he mean by that? I wasn't entirely convinced, but it was enough for the bishop, who let go of my hand and readjusted his position behind the arch of dead flowers. Immediately, I thought it was my chance to run free. My eyes rested upon the distant cemetery gates, and I tried to move but found myself locked to the spot. I could not move, and I had no idea why. "Look at me if you are scared, my love," the prince said softly to me. Whoa, did he just call me love? I didn't know whether to feel hard or soft. The prince approached the archway where I stood, and I couldn't decide if my heartbeat was getting faster or slowing down. The man was a vision, but a nightmare. Everything about him was perfect, but everything he represented was so dark, it terrified me. He had strong features that was beautifully arranged in a way which was not too pretty nor too hard. I found myself drawn to his eyes, two pools of brown gold that glowed in the moonlight like dark amber, mesmerizing to the point of distraction. Moving underneath the arch, the prince positioned himself opposite me. He gave a smile and said, "You look beautiful." Tenderly, he reached out and took my hands in his and brought it up to his mouth, then brushed his lips across my knuckles. My mouth opened slightly in amazement as my brain flatlined. Did I want to run away from this guy or make out with him? Part of me wanted to pull away, but the other part wanted to forever remain in the presence of those eyes. Mist hazed around us, and my senses began to feel more and more dreamlike. The congregation melted away, and all that was left was me and him. Even the bishop's incoherent mutterings dissolved into the ether. There was unseen force willing me to give in to this man and to accept my fate. I wanted to fight the compulsion. I shifted uncomfortably and felt the stranger's grip tightening around my hands. He was strong. "Don't fight me." An echo crossed my mind. I blinked. Was I dreaming, or did I just hear his voice in my head? Intelligence twinkled in his eyes, as if he read my mind. Tears began, burned my eyes, and in my mind I thought, if you can hear me, let me go. A sickening feeling rose up in stomach, and I felt his hands give mine a gently squeeze. "I promise to make you happy," was the echo's reply. Ah, crap. I was trapped, hopelessly trapped. The bishop cleared his throat loudly, and the prince tore his golden stare away from me. "Do you take this woman to be your wife?" the bishop asked. The prince turned his head back to me and looked straight into my eyes and said, "I do. Now you are mine, and I am yours," he said softly in my mind. I snapped, suddenly finding my voice. "No way am I married to a lunatic." The corners of his mouth tugged upwards, and I could feel his amusement, like his mind was connected to mine. Annoyed, I screamed in my head, "Get out my mind." "Darling heart, please don't be like this. You are upsetting yourself," he replied with a hint of sarcasm. The bishop snapped his sermon book shut and announced loudly, "You may now kiss the bride." The crowd burst out into applause, and I turned towards my husband and stared up into his face full of attraction mingled with fear. "You'll never be alone. I shall cherish you forever." His words echoed in my head as he pulled me into his arms, crushing me against his frame. I wanted to scream, "Get off me's," but my body seemed to react strongly to his touch, wanting it, needing it. My hands couldn't help but feel the warmth and the hardness of the muscles underneath his shirt. Gently, the prince caught my chin with his finger and lifted my face upwards. Leaning down, his grazed his lips across mine before whispering, "Forgive me." His head dropped down to my shoulder, nuzzling my neck. I didn't understand at first, but when I felt his grip tightening around my waist like a boa constrictor, I knew something was not right. Pressing a kiss into my neck, he whispered again, "I hope you can forgive me." I opened to my mouth to ask what for, but then pain exploded in my neck as I felt the Prince of Darkness's teeth tear through my skin and start to drink away my life. Chapter 4. There was a glowing brightness inside of me that represented my life, and it was dimming. I was now in a dark, peaceful haze, somewhere between living and dying. I was thinking about my summers in Florida and my mom's Christmas cookies, all the tiny things that had made my life so special. There was no anger, no bitterness, just a quiet acceptance that my time had come. I felt surprisingly peaceful and calm. All the little worries I had in my waking life vanished. It was surprisingly peaceful, and my only regret was that I was dying young. My life had been too short, and my experiences too few to say that I lived a life fulfilled. All my hopes and dreams for my future had now been erased, and all that lay before me was eternal silence. I began to let go of my physical life, allowing my spirit to drift away from the physical world. It was an odd sensation that felt like slipping into cool, calm ocean or lake. The sensation was almost like floating. I felt light, free, and completely serene. There was no agitation or fear, only an infinite calm. Suspended in the stillness that existed outside of physical reality, I suddenly felt an awful sense of unease creeping up on me and slowly coiling around me. The tranquil silence began to crackle like white noise, and I could hear the faint echo of a voice whispering incoherently. Straining, I tried to listen closely. Through the pops and snaps, I heard the soft, hushed gasps of breath coupled with tiny whimpers. It sounded like someone was crying, but it was stronger than that, as if this person was weeping in despair. Maybe it was my mother. Perhaps she had found out I was murdered, and the strength of her grief was echoing into the afterworld. But the voice did not sound like my mother. It sounded lighter, more young, like me. The crying continued getting louder and louder. I didn't like this. I wanted to run away from the noise, but I couldn't, because an icy cold force had overtaken me. Oh God, I am in hell? Hazel. A woman's voice called to me. Hazel, help me. Her voice gurgled into a kind, incoherent white noise that I couldn't understand. Panicking. I tried to move away, but I couldn't. I didn't know how to. Then, through the darkness, I heard a different voice, a man's voice. He called to me as if I was his dead lover calling me my love, begging for forgiveness. His voice seemed to drive the white noise and the weeping woman away and surrounded me with an intimate warmth. I couldn't understand how this was even possible. I had no recollection of a boyfriend from my life. Who was this man? And what had he done to me to beg for my forgiveness? I could physically feel his sorrow crowding around me, willing me back to life. Drink, he whispered. Drink to live. Drink to be with me forever. Drink my love. An external life force flowed into my body, corrupting the very laws of nature and reviving it. My heart gave a beat, and I felt myself being torn out of death's embrace and thrust back into my body. My soul began to painfully reattach itself, but not fully. A small piece of me decided to remain in the blissfully other world, the world where we went to die. I began to feel my physical limbs of my body and then panic, and anxiety hit me like a freight train. I had been dead, the kind of dead that modern medicine could not revive. The sensation was unnatural and odd, and I almost felt repulsed by it. The first physical sensation I felt was the metallic taste of liquid heat that ran down my throat and exploded in my stomach, sending shockwaves through my body. For what felt like a second but could have been an eternity, there was pain which ebbed away into awareness. It felt like I was waking up from a deep sleep and all my senses were returning to me. I became conscious of the cotton sheet underneath me and warm blanket above me. I moved my fingers and felt the warmth of a body lying next to me. I hadn't even opened my eyes, but I could tell it was him, the Prince of Darkness. His heavy arm curled around my waist, splaying his hand across my stomach, holding me closely to his body. I could feel the gentle rise and fall of his chest against my spine as he slept quietly. I should have felt freaked out or scared, but him being so close felt strangely natural and easy, as if we were real lovers. His arm moved slightly, perhaps only a centimeter or two across my waist, but just enough to make my eyelashes flutter and open. I couldn't see a damn thing. For a split second, I waited for the mystery man who had abducted me to dissolve into nothingness just like any other dream. But when his solid arm tightened around me and I knew that he was real. While being sleepy, I searched my brain trying to remember how I got to be in this bed with this guy. Fuzzy memories of Olivia McAdam and that stupid wedding dress taunted me. I then remembered the graveyard and the hangman's tree, and that stupid story about that man, that handsome man in the graveyard with his very sharp teeth. My body went rigid in fear. The Prince of Darkness inhaled, stirring from his sleep. His arm pulled me closer to him, crushing me against his chest. Sleepily, he whispered into my ear, "I am so sorry, my love. I never wanted to want to hurt you." I screamed loudly, violently pulling away from the stranger next to me. I dug my heel into the mattress and pushed backwards, virtually somersaulting across the bed. A hand reached out and brushed against my arm. "Calm down, my love," he said softly. I snatched my arm away and pushed myself blindly away from the direction of his voice. "Stay away from me," I yelled hysterically. "Okay," a soft masculine voice replied. I will stay away from you. Please, can you turn on a lamp or something? I can't see anything," I asked. "I can, but let me tell you, it wouldn't make any difference. You are blind, my love. It is only a temporary process until the change is complete," he said softly. "Change?" I echoed dryly. Lifting my hand to my neck, I reached out and felt with trembling fingers where his teeth had sunk into me. Carefully, I ran my fingers across skin and found nothing there. No broken skin or painful bruise. No evidence that this man had ever killed me. "Are you afraid, my love?" he asked. "Yes, I am afraid of you, and what you have done to me," I replied. "What do you think I have done to you?" "I don't know, but I know I am not the same, and it's not good," I said. He exhaled harshly and replied, "Look, this was probably not the right way to do this." "What do you mean the right way?" "It doesn't matter now. You are scared and frightened, and as your husband, I have to respond to that. Please don't. Look, I do not know who you are or why you thought it was acceptable to bite me, but let me get this one thing straight. Tonight, we did not get married. That wedding was a sham. We did not have a license or a blood test or get married before a judge, and more importantly, you certainly did not have consent for me to be your lawfully wedded wife," I snapped. "You stood under the tree," he said flatly. "I was forced to stand under that tree because of stupid Olivia McAdam. And furthermore, on what planet does standing under a tree mean I consent to marry you? Could you ever imagine trying to explain to a judge that I am your legally wedded wife because I stood under a tree in a graveyard?" "It would in vampire court," he replied waspishly. "There is no such thing as vampire court," I yelled. "Sorry, darling, but there is. I am a vampire, and you are now a vampire," he replied. I shook my head in disbelief. "Vampires do not exist." "Yes, they do," his voice suddenly echoed inside my mind. "Please do not tell me that was you in my mind," I said numbly. "Yes, telepathy is one of my many vampire gifts," he replied smugly. I suddenly became aware of his mind wandering into my thoughts like it was public property. Casually, I felt him picking through my memories, trying to piece together information about me. Shocked by his lack of respect of my privacy, I slammed him out of mind, yelling, "Get out of my head." "I'm sorry," he apologized. "I was trying to find a way to help calm you." I almost burst out laughing. "Calm me down? You bit me like some rabid bat, then kidnapped me. I am blind and I have no idea where the hell I am. Unless you have strong sedatives, I doubt there are any words that you could pick from my memory to calm me down. Look, I know I bit you and I'm sorry, but I had to because you were mortal, you would have died," he said. "Because you bit me. Ah, to hell with it." I heard his voice echo in my mind. I opened my mouth to say something, but suddenly felt two hands clamping down on my shoulder and push me back into the mattress. I screamed in panic and tried to push him off of me, but he caught my wrists and with a single hand pinned my arms above my head. "What are you going to do?" I whispered brokenly. "Take you home and put you back to bed," he replied. "What? Do you really mean it?" I asked. "Yes," he groaned. "I'm going to have to court you, Charlotte Field, and make you fall in love with me." I suppressed a laugh and replied, "Yeah, well, good luck to you. We are destined to be together, Hazel," he said finally, before leaning down and brushing his lips across my neck. I groaned involuntarily as his teeth scraped across my skin. "You taste really good, Hazel," he murmured in my head. "Go to hell." I yelled mentally back at him. His tongue flicks over the pulse in my neck and feel myself shudder underneath him. My body no longer felt like my own, and instead it wriggled uncomfortably beneath him, longing for more physical contact. This seems to be a very effective method for calming you down, Miss Field, he breathed against my neck. My mind felt hazy, flooded with the sensation of him. I wish it could last longer, but I need to take you back home, he said. With that, pain exploded in my neck as he bit down once again. I gasped loudly and felt the darkness closing in on me again. He released my arms and dragged me up into his embrace. I flopped against his chest, noting how warm his skin felt against mine. I love you, Hazel Field, he whispered in my head before I finally passed out. Chapter 5. I was in a deep sleep when my alarm went off right next to my ear. Angry electronic sirens battered my poor eardrums and quickly freed a hand from my quilt and bashed the snooze button. Sleepily, I rolled over in bed, wrapping my quilt tightly around me. The hazy memories of last night slowly crept into my mind and then became disturbingly clearer. I remembered him, that man, my husband. I sat up in bed, suddenly feeling agitated. I didn't remember walking back from the graveyard or taking off Olivia's maxi dress. I do not even remember getting into bed. But I remembered that voice and those lips. My heart fluttered and I did not like it. Shaking my head, I tried to pull it together. My brain tried to rationally explain the strange memories I had from last night. Maybe I drank too much. Maybe I had been drugged. Maybe I had hit my head really hard on the way back from the party. Or maybe this was the start of a mental breakdown. Groaning, I fell back against my pillows, wishing I had some kind of explanation for what happened last night. I knew that all sorts of substances and even stress could make a person start to see things, but deep down, I knew the man from last night was real, even though my head was telling me it was impossible. Do vampires really exist? Opening my eyes, I stared up at the ceiling, wondering if I really wanted my mystery vampire to be real or not. If he was real, then last night when he bit me, he turned me into a vampire too. So hypothetically, if I was a vampire, I would burn sunlight, or flinch at the sight of crucifix, or be repulsed by the smell of garlic. This gave me some avenues for investigation. So I got out of bed and prepared myself for the first "Is Hazel a vampire?" test. I walked over to my closed curtains and opened them just a crack, so that only the tiniest amount of light was allowed into my room. Through the curtains, a small slither of sunlight beamed into my room. Standing in the shadows of the room, I lifted my hand and gingerly waved my hand through the ray of light, and nothing happened. My simply hand waved through the light without any problems. So I guess that meant I wasn't a vampire, although I still wasn't 100% sure. The only real point of reference I had for vampires were the terrible, trashy horror movies I used to watch as a teen. So maybe vampires could withstand sunlight, which would mean I could be a vampire, or maybe I was just having a mental breakdown. I slumped down onto my bed, wondering what the hell was wrong with me. I'm losing my mind, I said quietly to myself. Hazel, what the hell? I said, sitting up. Suddenly, there was a panicked banging on my bedroom door. Olivia McAdam voice yelled, "Field, are you in there?" I opened the door and saw Olivia still in her Halloween outfit. She smelled terrible, and I know that sounds terrible, but Olivia smelled like cigarettes, vodka, vomit, and sweat. My stomach heaved and I pulled a step back inside my bedroom. Olivia burst into tears. "You bitch! Did you think that was funny? I had the whole football squad out in that graveyard looking for you." She yelled emotionally at me. "What are you talking about, Olivia?" I replied. "The guys who were guarding the cemetery gates, they heard you screaming right after the church bells tolled midnight. They thought you were being murdered or something." Olivia sobbed. "I thought someone had killed you." I was surprised to see Olivia was genuinely upset. I did not think she was capable of any form of sincerity. "Where the hell did you go, Field?" she cried. "I don't know," I replied honestly. I had no idea what really happened to me last night. The only memories I had of last night were those of being turned into a vampire, and how could I start to explain that to Olivia? "Oh, by the way, Olivia, it turns out the Prince of Darkness is a real thing, and last night he turned up and forced me to marry him in some weird ceremony with a zombie bishop. I hate you, Field. Before I just felt sorry for you because you were the nerd that no one liked, but now I officially fucking hate you." Olivia spat, storming down the corridor. I stood in the doorway and watched Olivia leave my dorm, slamming the door angrily behind her. Going back into my bedroom, I shut the door behind me. What had happened to me last night? Was I a vampire? I had passed the light test, but what about garlic and crucifixes? I rushed over to my desk where my jewelry box was sitting. I opened the box and pulled out a silver crucifix my aunt had brought me for my 18th birthday. I stared at the cross, waiting for some kind of awful sensation that would make me turn away, but instead I felt nothing. Then, I left my dorm room and went into the shared communal kitchen. I knew we had no bulbs of garlic in the kitchen, but what we always had plenty of was garlic bread. I pulled a stick of garlic bread out of the freezer and stuck it in the microwave. Once the bread was cooked, I pulled it out of the microwave and took a bite. It tasted delicious. Groaning, I leaned against the kitchen counter. So far, all my investigations proved that I was in fact not a vampire. I suppose this meant that after all these years, the mad Victorian sociologists had finally gotten to me. Their complicated theories and incoherent writings had sent me over to the edge. I had cracked and was now dreaming of sexy vampires. I finished the rest of the garlic bread and decided that even if I was going mad, I still needed to go to my classes. Feeling thirsty, I poured myself a glass of water and headed back to my dorm room. As I passed my neighbor's room, her door opened. A scent that I had never smelt before hit me. "Hazel, thank God you are up," my friend Becca said, clutching her hand. "I cut myself on my craft blade," she said, my throat like it was on fire. I stared at her injured hand, watching the red liquid ooze through the white bandage she had wrapped around it. "The cut is not that deep, but I need some gauze from the kitchen and I do not want to risk bleeding all over the carpet," Becca explained. Numbly, I replied, "Sure, I can get you some gauze." "Thanks, Hazel, you are such a star," she chirped. I turned and hurried back to the kitchen and pulled the first aid box from the cupboard underneath the sink. I was trying to focus on Becca and her injury, but the dryness in my throat seemed to be worsening, and now my jaw was starting to ache. I moved back up the corridor and handed Becca the first aid box. "Thanks, Hazel," she said, flashing a smile. "By the way, I love your teeth. They look so realistic." "What?" I murmured, finding it difficult to swallow. "The fangs. They are awesome," Becca said before closing the door. I shook my head. No, no, no. I bolted down the corridor, back into my dorm room, and into the bathroom. I switched on the light and stared at myself in the bathroom mirror. To my horror, I saw two sharp fangs where my canine teeth used to be. No, last night was not real. I am not a vampire, I told my reflection. Then, in my head, I heard his voice. "Good, you are finally awake.